Hey everybody! Today we're going to talk about one of the more deceptive chords in jazz music, that being the backdoor dominant. This chord can be odd at first as it's a dominant chord that resolves up a whole step. Weird, right? Strangely enough, you probably know some ways to solo over this chord, even though you might not know it yet. Let's talk about it right now. So first off, what is a backdoor dominant chord? A backdoor dominant chord is a dominant 7 chord played off the flat 7th degree of our key. So if we were playing in the key of C, our 7th chord in the key of C would be B, and then we just flat that B and make it into a dominant chord. So our backdoor dominant in the key of C would be B flat dominant 7. Also, this chord naturally has a sharp 11 in it, so if you wanted to, you could add a sharp 11 to our voicing, and that'd be just fine. The reason this works is because our B flat 7 shares a lot of tones with our G7 altered chord, which is the 5 chord naturally in the key of C. So generally, they both want to pull to the 1 chord, which is why they sound good to our ears. So now that we know what a backdoor dominant chord is, where do we find them? This chord is actually really common in jazz music, and if you looked into any amount of standards before, you've probably run into them. Some examples of tunes that you can find these chords in are songs such as Lady Bird, Stella by Starlight, and I Should Care. So how do we play over this type of chord? The first and most simple way is to pretend it's just a 2-5-1 in E flat, since B flat 7 is the 5 chord of E flat. Then it's not so weird. So knowing this, then you have to ask yourself, what notes do E flat major and C major have in common? Well, both have G and D in them. So you can play any 2-5 lick in the key of E flat as long as it resolves to G or D. Here are a couple examples of some very common jazz licks that do just that. The next way we can solo over this chord is to think about just the 2 chord of our 2-5 progression. So think about B flat 7 just being F minor 7. Once you can think about it like that, the first way we're going to approach this is by playing the Kansas City blues scale over F minor. So any blues licks you have using this scale will ultimately work over our backdoor dominant now. Just make sure to resolve your Kansas City blues lick to a chord tone of C major 7. Remember that you can also land on the 9th of our C major 7 chord, which is D, or the 13th of our C major 7 chord, which would be A. Here are a couple examples using this type of sound. The second way we can approach our backdoor dominant, just thinking about it as F minor, is now let's make it into F minor major 7. So in other words, use the melodic minor scale. This really works well as the melodic minor scale, being F melodic minor, has both the sharp 11 of the B flat dominant as well as the 3rd. The first thing you need to do is start this scale on every chord tone of F minor major 7 and see if you can land on a chord tone or extension of C major 7 by the next measure, being 4 beats after you start. You can also add chromatic notes to make this work. Do this going up and down the scale. Once you do that, then try adding enclosures. Target notes of C major 7 and then land on them using enclosures. This time, start from every note of our F melodic minor scale and see which ones lay best on the guitar for you. Lastly, try combining parts or fragments of our F minor major 7 arpeggio with these scale ideas to create some really good lines. I also just want to show you a couple licks that I generally use over this type of chord. They use a combination of all the different things that we talked about in today's lesson. So you can see this chord progression, our backdoor dominant chord, is not as weird as it first seems. You just have to either think about it as a 2-5 in the key of E flat, resolving to G or D, or think about it as our Kansas City blues scale, or lastly, you can think about it as just F minor major 7. So F minor major 7 resolving to C major 7. I hope this lesson gave you some ideas about how to solo over this type of chord progression. If you have any questions or comments about this, make sure to let me know in the comments section below. Also, if you'd like to see a part 2 for this video, let me know that as well below. Thank you guys so much for watching this video about how to solo over backdoor dominant chords. If you like what you're seeing, make sure to hit that like and subscribe button. And as always, remember to always keep swinging.